Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Live Beyond Average podcast. It has been a couple weeks since I've been on, but it's just because been a busy couple weeks out hunting, some family stuff, and so haven't really focused on just taking some time to sit down and record, but we can make up for that today. I'm your host, Jordan Miller. We're really excited to be on, and I want to tell a little story from my couple weeks hiatus here. I love my time out in the field and just on trips. It gives me time to observe and just do some deep thinking and also reflecting, really important aspects to our day that we need to be conscious of. And me and my wife went out to the hills here this past weekend. We really tried to make it a point every single fall that we go out there and spend kind of a little extended weekend, just us two. We drop off our kids with my parents on the way out there, and really just love having 2.5, 3 days where it's just us dinking around out in the hills. And we did something different this time that we haven't done in the past. And people always ask where we're from, and I always say South Dakota, because I feel like we spend just as much time across the state in different areas than we do where we actually reside and sleep. And so all of South Dakota really is our home, I feel like. But one spot we haven't spent a whole lot of time in, we kind of have our spots out in the hills that we spend time in. My grandpa built a cabin out in the Black Hills in the 70s. And we're lucky that my dad has that now. And so it's this family cabin that we have. It's nothing like grandiose or huge. It's just this little cabin, super quaint. You kind of feel like you're jumping back in the 70s a little bit when you go in there, but the last few years my stepmom has actually done some updating in there, which has been really nice. But you really enter a place of quiet when you go there. But one spot we haven't spent much time in is down the hot springs area, and my wife had booked a hot soak down there at the hot springs. And so super cool experience. Something you guys should totally go do. I think the place is called Moccasin Springs, if I remember right. I can't remember. I think that's what it's called. Tremendous though, massively affordable. It was like $25 for a 3-hour soak per person. That's the most affordable thing I've done in years. So it was amazing. But I didn't ask my wife when she booked it how much it cost. I was like, I'm just gonna let her do her thing. And midway through, I was impressed by it. So I'm like, this place got to be pricey. Really cool place. I asked her, and she was like, oh, it's $25. Like, what? For 3 hours? It's $25? It's amazing. So super cool. Definitely put it on your agenda to go do. But we're in there, and you go in, and they really emphasize you being quiet and using a low voice and being conscious of what you talk about, because it is very, you go there to relax, and there's other people there, and so you want to respect them. And it's very a meditative place. And so I go in there, and there's a really cool changing area, really big, overlooking, kind of I don't even know how to explain it, like a little lodgy kind of place, and it overlooks all of these hot pools. And so they got these 6 different hot pools ranging from 80 degrees to 106 degrees or something like that, 105 degrees. And you adjust pools, and the biggest pool obviously is the coolest pool, the 80 to 85 degree pool. I mean, it's the biggest, right? It's going to be harder to heat naturally. And then as you go, obviously the hottest pools are the smallest. And so it's really fun to go and change, and not just, and it was a cold day when we were there. It was 34 degrees, 35 degrees. So this is all outside. But really fun for us to go change from pool to pool, go get in that hot one, then go get back and kind of swim around in this cooler pool, and how good it feels on your body to do that. And you're also there's other people that are in that 3-hour time slot, but just observing and listening sometimes, because obviously people are conversing among themselves. But there was this one group there, and it was really interesting, and it got me really thinking about these 2 younger girls were with their mom. They were probably 19 or 20. And they were talking, and the one girl and the mom were really enjoying the relaxive part, but the other girl was not. And she was like struggling to sit there. We were probably 45, 50 minutes in, and I could hear them speaking to each other, and the one sister was like, well, you always say you want to go do stuff, and now we're here doing something, and you don't want to be here. And the girl was like, well, I want to go do something. I don't want to just sit here. And she's like, well, you just sit around at home. And she goes, yeah, but I'm on, I have my phone to entertain me, and I have this other stuff. And I really just like stopped and thought about that statement of sitting there with nothing. There was no entertainment, right? And then the other sister goes, well, you need to sit and just like be with yourself and be with your thoughts. And I'm just like, yeah, she's right. Like, that's exactly right. But then observing again for the next 30 minutes to 45 minutes and seeing people, and people are filtering in and out, right? You don't have to be there for the full 3 hours. You can get there late. It's a 3-hour time slot, whatever. But I think a lot of the people's intentions who aren't returners or locals is to get there early. Like, people were there early so they get their full 3 hours. You get changed up, but then seeing people starting to leave, 90 minutes in, if that, 75 minutes in. And a lot of it's because the struggle to sit there and really do nothing. The amount of people that couldn't even go out there without their phone sitting on a rock on these pools right beside them. And me and Amy actually went out at first, like we got some robes, rented robes there, and like we put our phones in our pockets of our robes and went out there and like took our robes off and just left them. And I was like, we really brought our phones out there for a quick photo, but I was like, God, like, we need the separation from that too. And it's funny when you start thinking about, like, you're not missing anything. And that really got me thinking about like the FOMO, the old school term FOMO, the fear of missing out. And when we're sitting there doing really, like, we feel like we're doing nothing when we're actually doing a lot of things like that. Being in that restful state, being in that slow state, that meditative state is it's actually doing a lot. But when we can't escape that FOMO, that fear of missing out on something, we actually never experience the present. And so we can go to a place like that and in our mind be so restless, and our body be so restless, or be, checking our phones still, checking Instagram, scrolling, making sure we're not missing anything. And that's not our necessarily conscious thought of like, I don't want to miss anything, but always needing to be entertained and seeing something is making sure we're not missing anything. We don't want to be missing a post from our friend or missing a news event or whatever that is, or just feeling entertained. But we're actually missing way more. We're actually missing the present moment, which is very powerful. So stop and ask yourself, like right now, how much FOMO am I having right now all the time of not being present in my own life, in like a minute to minute or the day by day, whatever that is. And what am I missing presently because I'm distracting myself with something else? So it was a very interesting observation as I was sitting there, and an application to myself too, not like a projection of like demeaning somebody. It really just, again, a great reminder for myself of, like, be present. And so it was like really for us too, of like being there for the full, we were there almost the full 3 hours. We made sure to get out of there a little earlier so we could get a room to go shower up, because there's only so many rooms, little spaces to shower up and change. And so like we made sure to kind of jump out of there right before other people did to do that. But man, we were in that soak tub a long time and jumping from pool to pool and enjoying our time and really being present in that moment and having fun. And so you see these FOMO things all the time, right? Like if you look at it from an investment point of view, what happens, like I spend a lot of time in the crypto space. So you see this all the time where instead of being present and investing when, charts are low and boring and you invest in something early, and then you see this spike, this green candle, right, when everything goes up, and you're making money because you got in so early. It was boring because you sat there on investment on it that while it was doing nothing, but then it goes up and you make money from such an early point on that as it's going up, you're making way more money than people who are FOMOing in late. So they're seeing this green candle go up and they're like, oh man, like I got to get in on this. I don't want to miss out on the money. I don't want to miss out on these gains. And they're buying late, and they either make very minimal gains or they make no gains, because then everybody early down here who bought, they're like, oh, it's time for me to sell. I've been in this for months or years. I'm going to sell now. And they sell, and the people who just bought in just get wrecked because they're buying because of FOMO. They feel like they're missing out on something. And so you can see what happens when you FOMO. I'm using this as an example. You FOMO late, or you're just in a FOMO state of mind. I don't want to miss out on something. Somebody else is getting something and I'm not. You get wrecked, right? So we need to be present and really evaluate emotions, evaluate our state of like, what's making me feel this way? What's making me feel in this case of like being in the pools or being in a meditative state or slow state, like what's making me feel restless? So that's a great question for yourself. Like if you're feeling restless in that when you're trying to be still, you're trying to be present, like why can't I get present? Why can't I get restful? And ask yourself that. Because that's going to help you then meditate. Stop and ask a question to yourself. Why am I feeling restless? Why am I feeling this FOMO? What's making me feel this way? Okay, well, what do I need to do in order to not feel this way? So ask yourself the questions, and that's just going to help you slow down and be present in the moment and evaluate your feelings, evaluate why you're feeling certain ways. FOMO is an interesting thing. It really is. And man, it can take us out of the blessings and the beautifulness of life in the present moments of sitting there with your friends and family in a soak bath or whatever that may be. Maybe it's being out on a hunt. Maybe it's just playing games with your kids in the living room, watching a movie, all of the things. And so the present moment, man, is where it's at. So don't let FOMO ruin the present, which then is going to escape so many of the blessings and beautiful things in life. You guys, I hope this blessed you today. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and let's crush it in December of 2024. You guys have only got a month left till the new year. So enjoy the rest of your week. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.